Welcome, readers, writers, and followers of Beneath the Rain Shadows Season 2. In this show, we will dissect and explore the early writing and editing process through prompt-inspired stories and monthly live story critiques with our four hosts. Back from last season, we have co-authors of Rain Shadows Volume 1, Tamara K. Selman, and me, Clay Vermulm. And new to the team, we have two very exciting additions in Gordon B. White and M. Leigh. We hope you'll join us each month for some deeper insight into the creative process and all the fun we're sure to have along the way. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope you enjoy the show. Hello, fellow writers and editors and readers and viewers of Beneath the Rain Shadow podcast and the Rain Shadow book line. Thank you so much for being here with us today. I, as always, am your host, Clay Vermulm, and I'm joined by my co-host, Tamara K. Selman of BTRS Books. We're back again with another episode of this show. If you've never been here before, we do have an episode 0 intro where we go really in depth on what we're doing, but the quick and dirty summary for you is we are going to critique live a story that M. Leigh has written. It'll be the 5th story of our season, and it'll be going into a collection with every other story we write on this show throughout the year. You're here. You're going to witness the very first editing stages of this story, and that's kind of how we approach learning about and teaching about the writing process. All four of us are published authors in one way or another, and we're gonna talk you through all those early writing and editing processes, as well as give me a prompt at the end of the episode to create the 6th story for this collection. So before we do all that, let's go ahead and introduce ourselves. We'll go around the screens and do so. I'll start since I'm already here. Oh, yeah. We got dogs. There may be screaming cats later. It's always happening. Yes, I am Clay Vermulm. I'm a PNW horror author and filmmaker. And you can check out me at clayvermulmfiction.com or on the Fermented Fiction Substack or the Fermented Fiction Podcast. BTRS Books, we're all over the place. We have lots of stuff happening out there. The main series I'm working on right now is my rock climbing horror trilogy through Dark Forest Press. The first book in that trilogy is Crevasse. The second is Cairn. That's Cairn. So if you like isolation horror as much as I do, and you like adventure and rock climbing and grief and depression and sadness, go check those out. It's all in there. Gordon, who are you? Yeah. What are you doing?
I'm Gordon B. White. You can find me at gordonbwhite.com, etc. I'm a Seattle-based horror author as well. Mostly short fiction, couple of novellas, and I'm perpetually stalled out on this mother frickin' novel that that is sitting printed out over there waiting for edits that are never going to happen. So you could check out my website, and I've got links to all my stories, including ones that are online or that are on podcast, very conspicuously marked. So you can check it out.
Gordon has literally hundreds of stories out there that you can read, and you should go read as many of them as you can before you feel too weird, which is probably like 2 or 3. But Gordon's work is really, really awesome. Go check it out. He is all over the place. Nightmare Magazine, it has a lot of his stories in audio form too.
Yes.
Em, you're on the hot seat today. How are you, and who are you, and what are you doing?
I'm good. I am the mom to a crazy doodle. Sorry about that. Sure. She got excited when people came home. You can find my stuff at emilystories.com. A lot of short stuff, in a lot of anthologies. I am currently working on a story to go into a Grave Bells anthology where it's kind of slashers, so that should be pretty fun. That's kind of out of my wheelhouse, so I'm kind of excited to try that out. I'm also the president-elect of the PNWA. We've got a lot of great stuff going on over there. Also, if you are writers out there, and kind of like Gordon, just perpetually working on this novel and hoping it'll have a home someday.
That's sort of our lot as writers with our novels.
Oh my
They spend
gosh.
a lot of time in that state.
Mhm.
But yes, and PNWA, for those who don't know, that stands for Pacific Northwest Writers Association. They put on a big conference every year. They put on regular workshops and classes that you can take online or in person, and I highly recommend checking them out if you're a writer. They're a great resource, and the conference is a great place to go if you are pitching to agents, because they bring a shit ton of agents in. So definitely go check it out if you're in that stage with your novel, unlike the rest of us. Tamara, how you doing? What are you doing? And yeah, go for it.
All that good stuff. Yeah. I also have I have two, well, I have more than two, but I have two current novels that are collecting dust. I have more than that, but they're not collecting dust. They're just stuck in my machine somewhere.
Sure.
But they're both dystopian. I read a lot of dark speculative fiction, so it may not necessarily be full on horror, but it's definitely dark. One of my current novels in progress is a very dark magical realist, kind of nightmarish scenario, climate fiction. And the other one is a dystopian kind of end of the world thingy.
Sure.
Anyway, I do have a new book coming out. And so
Mm-hmm.
Crest Fall is coming out in, what is today? The 23rd, not like less than 3 months. And so I'm working on, I'm actually meeting with the illustrator next week, which I'm really excited about because this is a funky little book that's going to have illustrations. And I'm working with the editor, and then we're putting together, the what do you call it, the book tour. I'm not sure if it's going to be a full-on tour this year, but it's definitely, trying to find opportunities to get the work out in front of people.
Yeah.
So that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of where I am at right now. And I just had a couple of pieces accepted for reprint in the last couple weeks. So
Nice.
I write all the things. I write poetry, fiction, nonfiction. So I always have something out there circulating, and always looking for homes for my work as well. So yeah. So that's
Nice.
me. And it was a nice break to then turn and read Emily's story here.
Yes.
After working on all these other things that were they were all non-writing, specific. They were more business and marketing and content creation, all that stuff. But it's funny that you call it a hot seat because it's hot in Seattle today.
Yep.
Yes.
I definitely feel like I'm in a hot seat right now myself. So, but we just had the summer solstice, the longest day of the year, and turned out to be hot. And summer has really come early to Seattle. I think most people living around here would say summer doesn't come until the day after the 4th of July.
Yep.
But it is definitely here, and it is not going away. We are not getting the January that we usually do. So that makes me really curious. Now I'm finally in a summer mood. And so I'm curious from you guys what your answer to the question is, what your answer is to the question. I had that turned around. What is your favorite summer horror trope?
Indeed.
Yeah.
I mean,
You
the first
have
one
one?
that jumps to mind is obviously the summer camp slasher.
Yep.
Sure.
Of course.
And with that, all the teenagers making bad decisions. Reminds me of when I myself was a teenager making bad decisions in the woods.
Oh yeah, it's always in the
Fortunately, I
woods.
did not get slashed by anything more serious than on the occasional branch. But
Sure.
Yeah.
So that's your favorite, Gordon, or is that the first one that comes to mind?
There's something about the being in the woods and it being all hot and sweaty, and I think I think it's that. And also too, like the idea of like something fun and like being around people and still not being safe is a really cool sort of like little horror trope. I think a lot of times, especially with writing, we tend to focus on individuals. And I think with prose fiction, especially because interiority is such a big thing, our casts tend to be very small and narrow. And so these ideas of being in like places with lots of people and lots of things and still not being safe, I think is kind of a cool change of pace, at least from what I do. So that's my favorite summer horror trope.
Nice.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
I like it. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Melissa.
Go ahead, Clay.
I was going to jump in with isolation horror that I saw on Tamara's list because that's
Mhm.
obviously my favorite, but I actually don't really
Obviously.
feel. Yes, obviously that's literally what I like write in mostly is my niche. But I don't actually know if I would classify isolation horror as a summer trope because I feel like generally, not genuinely, both I guess, people tend to lean into winter more when they go for isolation horror because you have
Mhm.
the natural conflict with the elements, and winter is a much more like elemental force in a lot of ways. I mean, summer can certainly be, and heat can be as well. It's actually heat's in a lot of ways more dangerous than the cold, but I just don't think people see it that way. Which is one of
Mhm.
the things. Yeah, I mean, you'll die from heat stroke quicker than hypothermia for sure. If you like just put yourself in both of those situations, heat stroke happens faster. But it's just again, it's people are more comfortable in the heat. People are hanging out outside more often, so there's larger groups of people out in the heat. Whereas I think if you're out in like, I mean, obviously, if you're in either the polar situations or you're high in the mountains or whatever, these are all places where it's very naturally isolated, and people tend to only go if they're like kind of extreme into something serious. Um, so yeah, I don't know if I would consider it that. And I think that is something I like about the summer slasher as well, the summer camp slasher, because it takes that all those ideas, it kind of takes everything I like about isolation horror, except it puts lots of people there. And then it also at the same time kind of deconstructs the myth that there's like safety in numbers.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
sometimes plays that safety in numbers against itself. That said, I do love me some like I don't know like folk horror. I feel like a lot of folk horror does take place in
Yes.
the summer, like
Mhm.
midsummer, and
Mhm.
you've got the witch. Like the witch starts out in the summer too. Like when they're first heading out, they head out in the nice weather, and everything kind of goes haywire right away. So
Mhm.
I like those kinds of stories as well. Folk horror I think thrives in the summer.
Mhm.
Mm. Mhm.
Yeah.
What do you think, Emily?
Yeah, I think I tend to like, and it usually takes place in the summer or warm months or vacations gone awry. You know, when there's people gathering, there's bachelorette parties, there's bachelor parties, there's some kind of wedding celebration or
Oh
just
Hmm.
like a
yeah.
family reunion or something. And then wherever they go, it's something just goes wrong, right? Either the
Mhm.
cabin is haunted or, you know, there's a killer on the loose or something like that. And when we were talking about this, what comes to mind is the novel The Elementals.
Mhm.
Michael McDowell, I think. He's the same guy who wrote Beetlejuice. But I
Oh.
don't know if you guys have ever read that novel, but like it's literally the heat feels like its own character in that book. And like you're just,
Mm.
it's like set in, I think, coastal Alabama, and you're just, you know, or somewhere near the coast in Alabama, and you're just wanting to die from like how hot it is. And, and, you know, those poor people are sweating and they can't sleep. And then of course there's, you know, ghosts and, you know, really weird things stuck in the house next door. And so I tend to like that where people are going for some kind of solace and it is just completely taken away, either
Hmm.
violently and
Mhm.
quickly, or it's kind of like that slow burn. That's something that
Yeah.
I absolutely adore. So, and I
What's
don't know if
those?
you guys have seen. I always remember this because the lady who is in it, she's a boogie lady because they have no explanation as to why she's crazy. But it's called Superhost, and it used to be on Shutter.
Hmm.
And it's these people who are just like renting an Airbnb or you know
I saw
VRBO.
that.
Did you see that one?
It
Yeah.
was awesome.
Yeah, exactly. So like they go in the place, they think they're totally safe, they're having a vacation, and somebody is very wrong, you know, messing with them. And
Mm.
I love that kind of stuff. And it does
Def-
tend
Yeah.
to
yeah.
be more in like the summer, I would say. So
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely a boogie lady. That one.
she is,
That
yeah. Mhm.
Superhost is a fun flick if you could still find it somewhere. It's
Super.
Yeah.
bananas.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, I have a similar. I think what I like road trip stories anyway,
Mm,
and
Mhm.
good
most of
call.
those take place in the summer, right? But
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
do think I like also the road trip that from hell kind of thing, where or something that keeps happening. You know, maybe there's a hitchhiker or a gas station kind of deal going on there. You know, you're fueling up. There's someone following you. I'm thinking actually of Duel, which is a really old Dennis, what's his face? Dennis, I can't think of his name. Dennis Weaver film in which he is just I think a salesman just crossing the American Southwest, and he's stalked by a Mack truck, an evil Mack truck. And I mean, it's old. It's like in the 70s, maybe even the late 60s. It's pretty old, but oh my gosh, it's so terrifying. So just and in that way, it is also a kind of isolation horror, right? Because you're out in the middle of nowhere and you're seeing things and you're out of your own element. And then, there could be weird things happening along the way, like in the places where you stay, like Emily describes as well. But just this idea that, and there's usually some other kind of personal thing getting wrestled with in the car ride, either between the two companions in the car, or maybe it's a single person and they're, having anxiety about something. And so the car ride is kind of maybe a metaphor for that too. What could go wrong, yeah. And I love those. I don't know why. And maybe it's because we did a lot of road trips when I was a kid. And so I just love that kind of the moving landscape, and all those really creepy hotels. I mean, the Bates Motel, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of like that too. But, Emily, you were saying too, this, things go terribly wrong when you're on vacation. I mean, I'm going right for Jaws then, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, everyone's going to the beach because it's 4th of July weekend and it's, it's going to be fun. And then suddenly, it's not. You can't go in the water.
Yeah.
It's fun for the shark until it wasn't.
Until it wasn't.
I noticed nobody said evil ice cream men, which is a very weird but specific niche. that is coming back. I know I mentioned that because there's a ice cream man movie coming out this year that's done by Eli Roth. But I always think of the one from like the 80s or 90s with Clint Howard.
I was going to say that. You're making that one. I think that's what it is. That's crazy.
Yeah. Evil Carnival is also kind of a uniquely summer movie too, because they don't do carnivals in the middle of the winter. I feel like it's almost always a summer situation.
Or fall, depending on if you want the harvest motifs. But summer too.
Yeah. Well, I just finished. It's not a horror trope that's, specific to the summer, but I finally read Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. And I mean, that totally takes place in the summer. And it is, I mean, it's so hot in there. And that is isolation horror as well as occult and all these other things. But, these girls being held up in this place against really their own will. And that was amazing novel.
Have you seen the movie In Fear, Tamara?
No, I have not.
In Fear, it's called. It's really, really, really good. It was a Sundance finalist for Best Picture a few years ago, but it's a road trip horror film. Takes place in Ireland, like two people coming home from a music festival. But highly recommend it. It was really good. Okay. Have you seen it, Gordon?
I don't think so. They did remind me of a different thing.
Oh, okay. You looked like you perked up a little bit, so I was wondering if you'd seen it.
So all right. What that reminded me of was a movie called Getaway, which is a horror comedy that takes place in Ireland. I won't spoil the twist for anybody who hasn't seen it.
Is that one where they have a travel trailer and they're going to go camping, or is that a different one?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, I'm thinking of a different one.
Yep.
So many good ones.
So many.
I also want to shout out a movie that nobody should watch. Have you guys had the misfortune of watching M. Night Shyamalan's Old?
Yes.
Oh my God, that movie's bad. The performances and just the directing, I think, is what it really comes down to. But I mean, it is tough to watch. I don't know if you guys felt the same way, but I was watching that like, how did this happen? It's a great premise. The premise is like there's this beach that once you go onto it, you can't leave because you just turn super old when you try to leave. And it just kills you and the water makes you old. It was a cool cool premise.
Yes.
But the execution of the film was just god awful, and it was like really, really bad. Almost so bad, like it's almost worth watching it just to be like, this is how you don't
do
direct.
this.
Wasn't there one point where like the old lady, she turns old and she tries to lift up a rock,
Yes.
breaks her arms and falls on it?
Yes.
Okay, that I
There
love.
is
That
one
part
of
I
the-
love. Specifically, just that part.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like most M. Night
Heart's
Shyamalans
gold.
could kind of fit that description of really cool idea, but not really well executed. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah,
Before we
great.
switch off of summer, I wanted to mention one other thing. There's two cool vampire stories that take place during sort of bright, sunny times that I think are really interesting because of that. One is Nathan Ballingrud's story "Sunbleached," which takes place like in a very bright place, but there's a vampire like under the house, and a little boy who talks down to him through the floor, but he can't go outside because it's like super bright.
Oh, that's great.
And then there's another one that's similar called "The Wide Carnivorous Sky" by John Langan, where the vampire comes basically like a missile that falls out of the sky on bright blue days and just destroys everybody and then disappears. And so these
That's
awesome. Like veterans, like who are like former special forces guys, I think it is, have to like try to stop it.
Oh my gosh!
But it was based on the idea of like drone strikes, because drones can only fly during like clear days, and so like the idea that like the bright blue sky would be the most terrifying thing because it meant you couldn't hide. It just comes out of the sky and destroys stuff. So,
yeah,
two cool subversions of the vampire trope.
Every time we bring up all these books and movies, I think of more like White is for Witching by Helen Oyeyami, which is set on the cliffs of Dover. And I think that takes place all summer at a resort. And it has lots of witchcraft going on in that one. And then I was thinking, when you brought up Ice Cream Man, Gordon, I thought immediately of Mr. Mercedes and that creepy guy in there who was an ice cream man at some point, among other things, but he was, oh my god, that's so creepy.
And finally, if you haven't watched Widow's Bay yet,
oh my gosh,
come on,
yes,
get after it.
What are you doing if you have not watched
Can
it?
have beach cocktails or sunset cocktails.
Dude, the sunset cocktails and the inaugural swim right back to back. That's just TV gold. It's amazing.
That whole show.
Tamara, if you haven't watched Widow's Bay yet, you're seriously missing out.
Yeah, do it.
I'm so behind.
You gotta watch it. It's easy to watch too. It's 30-minute episodes, and there's only 10 of them, and you're gonna be like, I wish there was 100 of these.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
And hopefully there will be someday.
Yeah,
it's
I was
so
taking
good.
notes. So good.
Taking notes. I'm taking notes. Okay. Well, now that we're all warmed up, so to speak, with these summer recommendations, I think we're going to get warmed up again when we talk about Emily's story, Resources. Literally, we'll get warmed up in some ways.
Yes.
So, yeah. So who wants to go first?
I put you on the big screen. You could go first.
Oh, I can go first. That's fine. Okay, that's cool.
And I got the timer.
Okay. Just let me know.
All right. So yeah, just quick refresher. If you're new to the show, this is a Milford style critique. That means each of the three critiquers we've all read the story and taken our notes. Gordon, me, and Tamara. And we are going to do 6 minutes each. Emily will sit and listen. And then at the end, Emily will get her chance to ask us questions, clarify things, and clear anything up to make sure that she took all the feedback in the way that she wanted to, and can incorporate it in future edits. So that's kind of what we're going to do. We'll go around and we'll start with you, Tamara. You can start now.
Okay, so just a brief description of the story. It's a story about mostly about a community of people who are unhoused, living in tents underneath some crisscrossed overpasses and highways in the Seattle area. And let's just say a couple of things happen, like an earthquake or two. And some kaiju monsters are born and mature and take on the world, let's just say. I'm not going to say much more than that. So my notes are I think this is a very Seattle-ish story, even though Tokyo is the land of kaiju. I totally could see this happening here. I mean, I was there. I was in that moment. Maybe it's just I have the benefit of actually being here. But anyway, I think all the prompts worked. We have a kaiju battle, we have a tent city, and we have an umbrella, which were all the prompts. The umbrella comes as a kind of inside joke, which I think was funny and a nice little Easter egg for the folks that know what that's about. And I really like the title because it seems really innocuous, but it's what all these battles are always about, right? They're about resources, about power, about the exchange, and who's going to be in charge. So let's see. Definitely the presence of story. I'm sorry, I'm reading my notes and I'm not quite understanding them. Okay, the presence of story of metaphor makes sense here. So the beasts that show up in the story represent the cosmic horror of power-hungry humanity, and the humans in the story represent the powerlessness of the population who suffers under the damage caused by the warring factions. So, I mean, it's all right there. It could be sharpened up, but you got all the foundation for that. Talking about characters, I really like JP. I found him to be a real true leader and very compassionate, and I wanted to know more about him and what his backstory was. Not that needs to be in the story, but because I liked him so much, I wanted to know that about him. And I really liked how he organized and structured these camps. I like that little bit of information about that because that does make me curious. I mean, when someone steps into that role, how do they do it to make everyone safe? And I love that he wanted to keep people safe. I was very curious about the relationship between Max, the city planner guy. I can't remember what his full, but he's basically a bureaucrat. Him and JP, they've clearly known each other for a really long time, and they operate from different ends of this power paradigm. So I kind of wanted to know maybe a little bit more about them. The structure of the opening, I would say, is a little bit wonky for me, not because the content wasn't there, because it was. I just feel like it could be done in a different way, in a different order, I think. So I made suggestions about that. But I liked the content. I did have a question about Sunny, the woman from the start of the story, and if she was the woman in the start of the story, because I wasn't quite sure about that. I love the ending because that was the messaging that I think is going to resonate for most readers because it's bigger than this story. It's what we're all feeling right now. That we will suffer and yet we will still survive under the madness of patriarchy or oligarchy or whatever, and these wasteful, destructive pissing matches that we're all just like, shoved into whether we like it or not. So I really liked JP's. There's like a hope, like twinkle in his eye, like maybe we can get justice and fairness and all that at the end. So that doesn't really, I don't think, spoil the ending at all. And I think the horror element for me in the story was less about the monsters, which we saw literally from infancy into full maturity within the measure of a day, which is like horrifying in and of itself, right? But it was more about the way these kaiju creatures really took control of humans, like body snatchers almost. And the descriptions of these people being hollowed out are really, really horrifying. So really scary and creepy. I liked the way you depicted the camping population. I thought you were fair and realistic, and you didn't over-romanticize what it means to be unhoused. And you certainly weren't judgmental. Max was the one that did the job of being the judgmental bigot, and that was great. He definitely fulfilled that role. I was
1 minute.
Thank you. I was confused about Max's bigger plan to execute. Was it literally to become the kaiju? I wasn't quite sure, but I do know that he just had this Cthulian sort of moment at the end that was like super cool. I was just a little bit confused, especially in the spot where the earth opens at Max's feet. And I was like, wait, what just happened? That was like such a huge thing. The hot and cold elemental conflict in the environment with these maturing kaijus needed maybe a little bit of clarifying for me. And just the clarity around the maturation of both kaijus to understand. And finally, I really liked the background chatter from the tent city residents. That added a little bit of texture and levity. I thought it was so funny and realistic. These are things people would say in absurd situations. So anyway, I enjoyed it, and I can't wait to see how you mold it into the final story, because I think there's some really cool stuff going on in here. So thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. There's your time. Perfect. Okay. I'll go next. I think I went last time. Tamara, do you mind timing me?
I don't know. And it's how many minutes?
6.
5. 6 minutes. Okay. All right. Hang on. Come here. Da, 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 da. Okay. And you can go.
All right. Okay, so ditto what Tamara said. Anything I really have notes on in this story, I think most of it you just have a really solid foundation to build on. And I know you'll do that every time we're in a rough draft. We're always going to have lots of those. So I made lots of suggestions throughout. But what worked overall for me, I had a lot of fun with this story. I like the unique take on the kaiju as kind of possession entities, as well as young representatives of their respective cosmic warring races. It was really fun to see like a baby kaiju. And then because I am a Pokemon fan, I love that it was basically like a Pokemon battle. And you had the one unhoused person being like, I told you Pokemon were fucking real. And I just love that take from that unhoused person. Just really big fan of that entire take. So I'm glad you got that in there. The hot versus cold battle is a good visceral indicator that I think you could build on even more. Like, showing like one example that I wrote in your notes was like, if it was super cold the night that Trina dies, and then it's super warm when the other kaiju shows up and things like that. I think you could really build on that even more because it's such a strong visceral indicator of what's happening, and you can really use it to tell us even less, leave us even a little more in the dark, and make us feel like we're more at the whims of these cosmic forces than you already do. But it already feels like there's this inevitability to this power struggle that like humans as individuals are such a minute organism that like there's really nothing we can do to affect it, which is kind of a staple of a good kaiju story. So I think you accomplished that really well, especially within the context of an unhoused community and Seattle. Those are like two very conflicting sociological demographics right now, like with the high-rise Seattle community and the unhoused community living beneath the freeways of the city. So I think you did a really good job balancing that. I agree with Tamara. JP was a great character. Max was a good villain. And I like that they knew each other too. Like, they're both from Seattle, so I kind of like to think that they played in a band together or something at some point, and they just went in completely different directions. So then areas for consideration. I did feel like Sunny needed to just not be in the story maybe, or needed to be developed quite a bit more. Like, I didn't feel any connection to her whatsoever. She was kind of just a vessel to move the baby kaiju from one place to another. And I felt like she either should serve more of a purpose than that, or I had the idea that perhaps instead of being a random person, it could be somebody from the camp who like wandered off and then came back. And I still think you could accomplish what Sunny's main job was, which was like a POV into the camp. Like, she shows up and it's a good way to illustrate how JP runs things. I think you could still do that with somebody from his camp, because if one of his people he knows and cares about goes out and comes back acting weird, he's going to assume they went out and took drugs or something. And then he can really, I think you could even go deeper with him as a character and how he would handle that with somebody he knew and cared about and was trying to look after. So that was one idea, to maybe a way you could handle the Sunny development. Either that or just develop her a little more as a character, so that she's a little more like attached to the stakes, because at present I didn't really care what happened to her. I wasn't invested in her as a character at all, so she just kind of felt like a vehicle for the kaiju, and I'm not sure that's what you want. Then My only other major note was the ending battle for me. It kind of made it feel a little less like a horror story. I felt like it was a lot more horror feeling when we were wondering what was happening and we were more in the dark. And things were being killed and possessed and devoured by the very earth with these earthquakes and stuff. I really liked all that. I liked the looming threat of Rainier exploding and this mention of a portal and all these kind of conflicting things that are happening amongst our characters. And then when the final battle happens and everything kind of comes uncorked, I think personally for me, this is just totally objective, but I would want to see... It felt more like JP would want to get his people out of there than sit there and watch the battle. So I think I would have liked to see what JP would do to protect his people in that scenario. And eventually they do that, but I don't know if I need to see the battle, and I think it could be a lot scarier if we just like hear the battle or see big explosions or even see the kaijus grow so big that they're like towering over the freeway in the distance as our characters flee or something.
One
But
minute.
thank you. But being at ground zero of this battle, it was hard for me to justify that in terms of my like suspension of disbelief, just because the power that these kaiju had when they were little babies was enough to like change the temperature around them and everything. So I can only imagine that once they grew to like nuclear size, you'd have to be really far away to not be murdered immediately. But yeah, that's my two big notes. Hopefully those are helpful, and I left lots of suggestions, and I'll see the rest of my time. That's what I got.
Gordon.
Go ahead, Gordon.
There we go. All right. I'm going to go ahead and apologize in advance if this is brief, but I haven't had a lot of time to digest. So there's a lot in this that I really like. I like what Clay said about having like a strong foundation here. One of the things I think we need to always think about when we're writing these stories is we have to write the first draft to understand for ourselves what happens. And then from there, we like can do the passes where we build up the prose and stuff. And I think, so something I really liked here is I really like the beginning in media res. I do agree with Tamara. I think that maybe some of the res is out of order. But I like that we begin just with an earthquake happening. I think it's great. There's a really good sense, I think, of escalation throughout the piece. We start with an earthquake and like a potential tragedy happening. Then we see the people who are on the margins already dealing with this. It's not a terrible, change in their life. And then we, have this, the personal stakes start coming in when we find the bodies. We have this villainous guy. We have the kaiju start showing up. And then at the end, it turns into big old slobber knocker, which is what you expect out of the thing. So I really like that there's that sort of build up throughout that. I like, too, that we do start off with a similar type of build up with the kaiju themselves, that they start off small, or at least localized. Because Max, too, there's both like sort of the one that we initially think of as good and the one that we initially think of as bad. But I think a lot of that is really playing with interesting things about how we project onto sort of circumstances and people based on, what we know about them rather than necessarily what their actual motivations are. I mean, to that end, too, I think maybe if there's anything I wasn't totally sold with, it might be that Max was very villainous. And it's always one of those tough things to balance, especially when we're playing with kaijus and stuff. Is like, how much do we want to make these things noticeably good and evil, noticeably metaphors for things, versus trying to give them some sort of humanizing edge. But how much too do we not want to also, like, there's a time and place for us to make statements and be didactic. And so that was just something I had thought of, is that, I thought there was an interesting sort of tension in the background on Max and JP, the two different humans, or for a while, about their sort of different ideas of protection and safety. And I really like that idea of safety and protection being something that comes from this sort of gathering of the people in the camp beneath the freeway. So Also too, I just think that there's the part where the baby kaiju have the psychic bonds with the people, or they possess Max, and I think that's a really cool way of getting the point of view of a non-human character to the reader. And I think what Clay mentioned too about Sunny and like giving her sort of like more of a relation to increase the stakes would be an interesting way to also play with that. But I think we're always trying to figure out how do we convey the unconveyable. Like, how do we explain to somebody clearly something that's not realistic? I had a friend who once said, like the more out there something is, the more clear your language has to be, and the more common it is, the more flowery you can be. And so I think that like having these weird things, but then having them present through these people is a really good sort of middle ground on that. So some of the things that I might look at again as I go through, as you go through, is I like a lot of the horror elements, like I think Tamara was saying, and maybe Clay too, about like the possessions, the sort of the people disappearing. I think that's something too that I think could be tweaked just a little bit more. Just go ahead and increase that. I think there's relatively low body count, but it is sort of a horrific thing. So I think sort of looking at that. There's also too a lot of really good, as both of them mentioned, a lot of really good chatter coming from the surrounding characters. I was sort of two minds though about Henry, I think is the name of the guy who knows about the portal, who's sort of the exposition guy. Because on one hand, because at first I was like, oh, he's just crazy. And then I'm like, oh, he does know what he's talking about. But there's like a middle ground where he feels a little bit too exposition-y. And I think maybe if you leaned a little bit more into making him seem unreliable like everybody else, then when he's accurate, you go, oh, he was right. Or maybe he's wrong about like one little thing. And then he's like, oh, I was wrong about that, but you're right about that. But again, too, that's like a really good workaround for how do we get this information to the readers without having to do like a complete pullback omniscient point of view.
1 minute.
Okay. And I think too, like I like the end. I like that we finally get the payoff of the kaiju with everything coming out. As Clay mentioned, though, I think again, kaiju, it's again one of those balancing acts with horror that's so hard to do. There's a maximalist approach where you describe everything and like how big and scary and like bonkers it is, and then there's like the minimalist approach, which is like the H.P. Lovecraft classic, a mountain walked, and I think this sort of story needs something in the middle because the location is so important. It is basically taking apart Seattle now and the freeways and stuff, and like I think that's great. That's what we want to see. So I don't have any suggestions for you other than that's something to keep just nudging around the edges and tweak. But I think there's a lot of really good stuff here, and just we need some little bit of pushing around here and there and a little bit of gloss, and I think it'll be great. And that'd be it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Can I go now?
Yes, please do.
Awesome. So I'm going to start off by saying I knew very little about kaiju. It's not necessarily like a trope that I'm super into. So I kind of had to do a lot of research on it. And, just kind of looking up, and I kind of decided early on, I'm like, okay, well, I want a battle because I knew where the location was going to be. And then I had to look up like, okay, well, why do kaijus fight each other? I think I literally put that into Google of like, why do kaijus fight? And it came up that, one of the things was over resources, right? Or over things that they want. And then that kind of clicked for me with the unhoused population and, the housed population of Seattle, and how there is always a constant battle for, resources and space and, placement there. So that's kind of how I started with that idea and kind of molding it together. And then I knew that I wanted to have little kaijus at first because I liked the idea of kind of the Lovecraftian way of a monster kind of manipulating people like on very, very deep levels. And it really reminded me of, I don't know if you guys have ever watched the movie. It's called The Seed. And again, it is also on Shudder. But it's these rich girls who are at someone's house in Palm Springs, and this alien essentially crashes into their pool, like this little tiny baby alien, and it cries like a baby, and that's kind of how it manipulates them to bring it into the house. But it turns out it's this, you know, evil thing from outer space that just wants to mate with everybody. But it has one of the best lines in cinema history, I think, was when they were fighting whether or not to like bring it in. One of them goes, "I'm sorry God took a shit in your pool, Heather." And I thought that was the funniest thing in the world. And so I wanted like a little, you know, monster that can manipulate people as well. And that's kind of where I came up with the idea of Sunny. And I did have a whole backstory for her. I had a whole backstory with like her sister coming and looking for her, and it was just getting to be too long. So kind of at the end, I ended up cutting a lot of that. Same thing with Max and JP. I had a whole thing with them too. And then I realized I'm breaching like the 10,000 word limit. So I should probably cut back just a little bit, at least for now. But that is kind of where that all came from. And then I kind of liked the idea of, you know, what do kaijus need to mature and then turn into, like, you know, these big things, and it was essentially just getting them together in the same place and kind of feeding off their own energies and, you know, eventually kind of transforming them into the big creatures that they were. But yeah, no, I totally agree with all of the spots in which I think that I can make it a little bit tighter. Again, kind of first draft, you're just, again, I don't really even know what the story was. So it's getting there. But let's see, what else did you say? Oh yeah. And I do like the idea of kind of bringing JP a little bit more. I mean, he is pretty much in the story, but kind of round him out a little bit as to how he got into that role and why people trust him, and kind of building that character up a little bit more. Yeah. And again, why him and Max hate each other so much. I like the band idea. That wasn't it, but I like that.
That's a very Seattle idea.
That was a very Seattle idea. Yeah, definitely. And the character of Henry, I needed to figure out how to kind of explain these otherworldly things in like a realistic way. And I kind of like the idea of like an old crazy kind of harbinger that just kind of lived in a cave and came out every so often, and people really didn't believe what he said, but then again turned out to be like, oh shit, Henry actually knows what he's talking about. And yeah, so I can work with that a little bit too, to see where he leads us. So
I love that he lived in a cave too. That he actually had a real home.
Yeah,
I mean,
real estate.
they just real estate. Yeah, exactly. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. And I kind of also, I wanted a place for the people to go safely during this battle as well. You know, once the shit really hit the fan, I wanted them to be, you know, safe, and that knowing that they'll be okay, because they've always been okay. And so
yes.
Yeah.
I'm so relieved that a giant kaiju foot didn't come down and just step on a bunch of unhoused people.
I know. I was like, I'm mean, but I'm not that mean. I can't let that happen. So.
That's probably what I would have done.
Yeah.
No. I would have started with them already having been stepped on. And then...
Then they become zombies and take down the kaiju.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
That would be a fun, like, Bizarro story. Like, they get stepped on by a kaiju, and then the story is from the perspective of, like, a radioactive mush of, like, 100 people that got stepped on.
Yeah.
So it's for vengeance.
I honestly kind of thought there's a Clive Barker short story, and I can't think of the name of it right now, but essentially this huge monster kind of is built out of bodies, and it like moves, and like I was kind of going with that for a little while too, but I'm like, no, I'll do the traditional kaiju.
Is it In the Hills, the Cities is the one you're thinking of?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's really great.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
Nice.
So these baby kaijus kind of, for me, it wasn't Pokemon so much, because I guess I'm too old for that, but I was thinking of Gremlins. I mean, because Gremlins are like, oh, they're kind of cute, but they have fangs, you know.
Yeah.
And you're like, and then you think you can trust them, and then they can rip your throat out if you're not careful. So
they can obliterate you 100%, or possess you to make you do things.
Don't feed those little bastards after midnight.
Nope.
Two rules. Right.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. You had 2
Unbelievable.
rules.
No, but thank you everybody for the feedback. That's good. I'm excited to go back in and see what it's going to turn out to be.
How
So is
many
there
writing sessions did it take?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, several. I was writing for, weeks, but I would say probably 5 really good ones.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah. hmm
What is a typical writing session for you?
I mean, like length or
Yeah, length, style, like when you would qualify something as a session, what does it generally look like for you?
it generally looks like I'm actually by myself, which doesn't really happen.
Sure.
And and kind of sitting down in front of my computer, but also giving myself space to get up and walk around if I have to. I don't know if you guys do that, but my brain works when I walk around. So
Yeah,
it's like
same.
I might write like a paragraph, and then I'll get up and I will talk about dialogue in my head as I'm like watering the plants or making coffee or something like that, and then coming back down. And so that's why it could very much look like I'm not writing, but I'm just not typing. It's all going on up here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I can get a good several hours in of that, I can get a fairly good word count in. So,
Nice.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
The author Jeffrey Ford used to say that he would lie on this couch with his eyes closed and tell his wife that he was the hardest working man in New Jersey.
Yeah.
I believe that. I met him once. He would say that.
I was writing the other day with a friend. We were both at a coffee shop, and I look up at one point. It like sort of dawns on me, and we're both sitting here going, trying to like get the angles of stuff together. And we're both like sitting at our own computers, not even looking at each other.
Oh,
Oh yeah. No, I totally believe my neighbors must think I'm crazy because I will just be
wandering around talking to yourself.
talking about dialogue just on my porch.
But you're supposed to
That's-
talk to plants. So your plants must be very like
yeah.
either healthy or twisted, depending on what you're telling them.
They're probably pretty crazy.
Well, I have to say that when I go on road trips, which I talked about earlier, my husband will be driving and I'll be sitting over there, and I'll have a conversation going on in my head, and my face will twitch depending on which character is talking and what they're, evoking, what kind of emotion. I'm like, da da da. I'm not saying anything, but you can see the whole drama unfold on my face. And after a while, he realized, okay, she's not crazy; she's just creating.
Yeah.
I think that's what I think he thinks. But
Yeah.
You
never know.
You never know. I mean, we've been married 39 years, so at this point, he's learned to tolerate whatever it is. So
Yeah, whatever crazy you do have, he's accustomed to it.
Yeah.
he's used to it.
We're all crazy at some level or another.
Yep.
Speaking of which, what crazy prompt do y'all have for me? Because I'm writing the next story and I'm excited to know what it's going to be.
Which one? Who's doing what?
All right. So Clay is in the hot seat, and Emily is providing the trope.
That's right.
GBW is providing location.
Gotcha.
Tamara
Yes.
is providing the quirk.
Okay,
All
well, I will go ahead and go with the trope because it's kind of actually, I swear I picked this out before we started talking about stuff. But I think that Clay should do the cursed camp.
Nice.
So, and again, it
Love
doesn't have to be a sleepaway camp. It could be, a corporate retreat. It could be,
church camp. It could be church camp.
Church camp. It could be whatever it is. But wherever it is, there's something wrong with it there.
Nice.
Whatever wrong your heart desires.
Well, I can tell you where it's going to be.
He's got the
And I
location.
picked this out before too, so this is going to be terrible for you now, or great depending on how you use it. The location I have for you is Sea-Tac.
Oh
We've had so
my
many
god!
tourists coming in and going out with the World Cup recently.
Okay.
So many people complaining about like all the travel. So yeah, Sea-Tac has been on my mind.
Fantastic.
Sea-Tac is kind of haunted in its own special way.
I just watched the documentary they made on the Woodstock in the 90s. That was just an absolute horror show.
Yeah.
And that was on a airport tarmac, so that gives me some ideas. Yeah.
Great.
Wow.
What do you got for me, Tamara?
Oh boy. So I have this quirk and it comes from formerly living on Bainbridge Island, which is the home what's the word? The place where this sport was invented, which is
Pickleball.
pickleball. Yeah.
I
So
love pickleball.
that is what
Two of
it
these
is
go
super
together
fun.
really well.
Yeah. The haunted camp,
Two of these are
pickleball, but
perfect for each other.
and then Sea-Tac. Wow.
That's awesome.
Too bad I couldn't pivot.
Wow.
This sets me up so well to write some elderly main characters. Just some
Yeah.
badass pickleballers coming from
Oh,
all
yeah.
over, but they're just
Oh,
like
yeah.
from all the nursing homes.
My wife and I went to a place like we were staying on vacation, and they had a pickleball court, and you could like use it for free if you were there. And we're like, oh, we'll go try it out. How bad? We've never done it before.
Sure.
So we were there a little bit, knocking it back and forth, doing terribly. And then this like old group of doubles came in, and they basically proceeded to laugh at us for the next half hour until
Sure.
we left
Oh,
out of
yeah.
embarrassment.
Yep.
It was not good.
No, yeah.
They were not even kind about it either. And they were like, oh, I see you started. Look at these clowns. These whippersnappers, only in their 40s.
Whippersnappers.
Pickleball is a game of experience and wisdom. You need both to be good. You need both.
You don't need pickles though, which is weird.
You don't need any pickles. In fact,
No.
that's
If you look
probably
like a pickle
detrimental.
though, I guess you do better at it.
Sure.
those
Pickled
old
by
people.
time.
Yep.
The best pickleball players have all been pickled by time. Well, right on.
Sounds like an
That's
album. That would be great.
Pickled by time.
It's like an old Bob Dylan one or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Keith Richards.
Blast that thing on the court.
Oh my gosh.
Keith
Oh, yeah.
Richards.
Yeah, that talk about pickled.
That guy knows
You
about
got
that.
it. Yep.
Yeah. Well, there we go. Willie Nelson, also pickled by time. This is an entire.
He's just smoked. Smoked
Yeah,
cured.
he's
Yeah,
smoked.
I was gonna say,
you're
yeah,
right,
he's
you're right,
beef
you're right.
charcuterie.
Yeah. Okay, everybody. Well, great work. Thank you for the prompt. I can't wait to write this story. It's going to be really fun. Em, great work on your story. I'm so excited to see all of these in a completed book, all
Yes.
together, hand in
It's gonna be
hand and
fun.
side by side. And they will be. Next year, summertime, we usually release around June or May these books. But yeah, we'll compile all these stories, their final completed drafts, into a book called Rain Shadows Volume 2 next year. But you're just seeing the rough drafts right now and the very first stab at the editing process. This is what a typical critique group kind of looks like. So if you're a writer out there and you're looking to improve your work without paying $1 million to a developmental editor, at least at this stage, then this is a good way to do it. Find some peers who are also writing and taking the craft seriously, get some objective feedback and group up and help each other improve. It's a great way to do it. And thank you, Em. Thank you, Gordon. Thank you, Tamara, for helping all of us get better every single day in the writing world. And yeah, like always, we'll be back here at the end of the month. So final Wednesday of the month is typically when we film. We're doing this today because summer is crazy. But yeah, I will have that story in about a month's time. We'll be back here critiquing it, and then we'll move on to another story from Gordon. It's going to be awesome, and we'll see you there. Everybody have a good 4th of July. Thank you so much.
Right.
Goodbye.